And now, give me 1 second. I'm gonna make it comfortable here. Take this leg off. Take the shoe off. Dude, hold on. I got it. There we go. I got to figure out. Bought these chairs, and there it is. Hardly ever
Nice.
sitting here, but now, hopefully, I'm not too lean back. All right, dude. I think I could get used to recording in this spot.
Bro, that's solid. Real
All right.
solid.
3, 2, 1. Limitless podcast listeners. Hey, this is your host, Aaron, and I've got an exciting episode for you today. First time backcountry hunter is on the screen right now. I'm going to introduce him in just a second, and we're going to talk about a Wyoming archery hunt that he adventured out on about a month and a half ago. But first, we've got to talk about sponsors. There it is. Here's my little water bottle. I'm not going over codes today. As you can see, I'm kind of kicked back and very comfortable in my pleather lounger in what we call the fireplace room here. But I do want to throw some sponsor names out there, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to nail them this time. So I have On Point Adventure Foods. If you listen to previous episodes, you will hear that listener code for all of these. But On Point Adventure Foods, you receive a 10% listener code, online orders, any order. You have Hunting Day Coffee, 10% discount with Hunting Day Coffee. Any order, all your orders online. You have Phelps Game Calls. That's a 20% discount at Phelps. One-time use, so spend that code wisely. Vortex Optics, 25% off any Vortex Optic, any order at eurooptics.com. You have Wilderness Athlete, 20% off any Wilderness Athlete product on their website, any order. You have the Love Sauce Hot Sauce, owned by a retired Navy buddy of mine. It is a boutique hot sauce. Really, really good stuff. It is spicy across the board. Most of his bottles of sauce, they've got some heat on them, but they're really, really good. And that is a 10% off order of any $12 or more order. That's online at his store. And then last but not least, one of my favorite pieces of gear across the board year round, any big game, including turkey, that is the Stick It Gear magnetic rangefinder strap. And that is a 20% discount as well. That code was just launched within the last couple of weeks. So make sure you've listened to recent podcast episodes if you are wishing to gain a discount, that listener code for the Stick It magnetic gear rangefinder strap. I love it, man. It's one of my favorite pieces of kit. Anyhow, as I always say, those codes are for your benefit. I do not receive any kickback if you use those codes. They are purely for your benefit. So with that business handled, looking at me, looks almost like he's sitting in a laundry room or somebody's like, I don't know, like their mop and vacuum closet or something. I'm not quite sure. Maybe it's a hotel utility room. I'm not sure where he's got himself hidden away, but this is Colby out of Virginia Beach. Colby's a Navy buddy of mine, soon to retire, and he'll be heading up to Pennsylvania, but he recently connected with the group of men that I run around with and shoot bows with and yuck it up with. And we're starting to develop a pretty good friendship, and he's new to backcountry hunting. And I want to hear all about this Wyoming elk hunt that you went on. Colby, take it away, man.
Dude, Aaron, what is going on, man? Super grateful to be on this podcast. This is a first for me. So all your listeners, please forgive me for any podcast mishappenings that go on over the next hour or so. But as Aaron said, I am not in a laundry room, but yet I'm in my single car garage in Virginia, where I am fully loaded down. Every square inch is covered in A, laundry, B, workout gear, C, hunting gear, and D, children's gear. I am a father of two boys who are both under 4 years old. So my house is constant chaos, and I do not have a beautiful fire room office as Aaron does yet. But like he said, I'm moving up to Pennsylvania, hopefully by the end of next year, transitioning out of the Navy. And I'm looking forward to having a space to actually do stuff like this that doesn't include me sitting on my adjustable workout bench with my box jump as a desk. But we will make do for the time being, because that's how we do in this business.
Man, I think it would be great if we had like an ultra wide camera view of that setup. I think it'd be great.
Dude, I can pan quickly. So here we have my laundry section with the sauna.
Nice.
Behind me is the ski erg with my children's stool where they help make food in the kitchen. And then as we pan here, we start with the hunting gear, which I just developed my storage there. And then we have a curved treadmill behind it with my child carriers. And then we have the rest of the gym. I am currently in the squat rack as we speak.
I love it.
So
I love it. Well, so let's talk archery, man. That's really why we're here, right? We could talk about how we met.
Okay.
Total Archery Challenge, Pennsylvania.
Let's do it.
Was it May?
Yeah, end of May. So basically the 1st of June.
And we were all loitering around the On Point Adventure Food booth. Justin and Sabrina are quality people. I mean, if you talk about their freeze-dried food being quality, their quality is next level as people. They're just good people. Justin's a riot, man.
Dude, I'll hop in right there. So you mentioned On Point as one of the sponsors. Justin and I have become really good friends. Actually, as we sit here, this box right there is actually gear. Shout out to Justin. He sent me to live vicariously through me to let me borrow in Wyoming, to include an InReach, a standalone Garmin, a decoy, and a bunch of other miscellaneous, like, expensive things that I did not have as a first-year backcountry hunter. And he did it out of the kindness of his heart. And I met him the same day I met you. And not only that, but he supplied me with all the meals for the hunt. So all of my how would I say this? Life-saving gear, to include nutrition and GPS navigation, were because of Justin. So shout out to Justin.
That's awesome. They're great people.
Yes, phenomenal human beings.
Sabrina has her hands full for sure.
I will tell you that the typical ball busting conversation between Justin and I is, hey, how's your weekend? Oh, is Sabrina putting you to work again? Because they're at shows constantly all over the state of Pennsylvania, mainly. And we had the blessing of meeting them at Seven Springs, which obviously, as Aaron mentioned, super grateful for that. So yes, to go back to that moment in time, we're in Seven Springs, loitering at the On Point Adventure booth, probably eating the breakfast skillet, if I had to guess where Justin and Sabrina were whipping them up with the jet boil. And we linked up there, and the rest is kind of history. I mean, we've become, just based with the whole Navy history, our friendship has grown at a pretty rapid rate. And that's when the whole age is just a number thing. I mean, I'm 31, Aaron's, I don't know, a day shy of 65. I'm kidding. But we've grown to become really good friends. And our relationship is flourishing in a way that's brought us to this podcast. As Aaron mentioned, I'm a brand new bow hunter. This November, so we're recording this on 30 October. So November 15th, roughly 2 years ago, was when I purchased my first bow, which was a Hoyt. And this past,
which one? What you have?
The Banter Pro was the first bow I bought.
Okay.
And I currently now shoot an Alpha X. I was able to trade my Bantam in earlier this year, the beginning of 2024, and I now shoot a 30-inch Alpha X. So that's the bow that I took to Wyoming. And while we're at it, with Seven Springs. So the guy that I went hunting with, Steven, he is the representative for Maven Optics, and his tent happened to just be the next tent after On Point Adventures. And ultimately, like you and I, our friendship and brotherhood has flourished at a really rapid rate. And he was like, "Hey man, do you want to experience your first backcountry elk hunt?" And I was like, "Say less. Like, where do I need to be, and when do I need to be there? And what gear do I need?" So that was late June. That conversation kind of bloomed, to then lead us to the conversation that we're about to have right now.
So, I mean, you don't have to say where it was in Wyoming, but so you had the invite in June. If I remember correctly, your decision to go and all the pieces fell into place, and it was like, holy cow, I have to put all this stuff together because this is really going to happen.
Well, to even paint that picture even more clearly, initially I had no anticipation of being able to acquire a tag whatsoever. So my intention was go and be a sponge, learn literally as much as possible, help Steven with any blue collar work that he needed, whether that was meat packing, whether that was filling the truck up, like helping with gas and groceries, like any miscellaneous tasks that an additional like alpha male / like blue collar guy would do. Like I was there for it. And so going through the summer, that's where my headspace was at. And about the turn of August, we had a conversation, and he was like, "Hey man, I had a wild idea. Like, we're going to hunt in this general vicinity." Cause I kind of have like a general tag so I can hunt the whole state, cause he's a resident. And I was like, "Well, what do you got cooking up?" And he was like, "Well, why don't you reach out to Wyoming Fish and Game and like see if in this 3-4 hour span of drive from my house, you can acquire a non-resident tag." I was like, "Done." So I call Wyoming Fish and Game, and I kind of explained them the situation. They're like, "Oh yeah, we have this unit right here. It's a non-resident full price cow tag." And I'm like, "All right, hold on." So I literally put Fish and Game on hold. I call Steven back. I'm like, "Hey man, this is what's going on." He's like, "Buy it." And he hangs up. So I put Fish and Game back on, and I'm like, "Hey, how can I buy it?" And they walk me through the website process, the permitting, whatever it is. And within a week, I had a legitimate cow elk tag in my possession in paper, which was my first ever like real harvest tag. Because when you hunt Virginia or North Carolina, whitetail specifically, which is really all there is to hunt here, it's like you record it on your phone and you just kind of like enter it in. So now I have this like kill tag that you wrap around, you see on Instagram, and I'm like all fired up. My wife's like, "What the heck is that?" And I'm like, "This is official. This is like how you actually hunt."
It's almost, if not more important than a marriage license.
Exactly. And so with that, I like bought like a waterproof like bag to like put it in, like with my license and like the permit to like hunt elk as a non-resident. All that was all zipped up and tucked into the kill kit. And I was like, if something happens to this, like I can't just pull it up in a PDF on my phone. Like it's not the same. And she was like, "Babe, that's a great idea." And so I had it all nice and compartmentalized, and I felt way better about it than just putting it in my wallet or my pocket. So after that, after I had the tag, things got to be really real, because I was like, well, now I actually have to bring a bow into the backcountry. Like, what am I doing here? You know what I mean? Like, this is not me just like gritting it out and like surviving and like hauling weight. Now I have to like perform. So the practice ramped up. Like the actual shooting portion of the prep ramped way up. I started to like deep dive more so than I ever have, in case I had to take like slightly longer shot than a whitetail shot. There was just a lot more considerations from being a helper to actual hunter. In addition, I had to deal with the hard conversation with Steven, like, hey man, I can only with work, I can only get out there for 2 weeks. So how are we going to break this up without me feeling like a turd, kind of impeding, so to speak, on your hunt? And he was like, dude, listen, I live here. We're going to do this kind of plan. And like, if it doesn't work, we're just going to shift to your unit because you can only hunt one unit, and we're going to deep dive that thing. We're going to do our best to make something happen. And so I was like, man, this guy is just golden heart, right? I had no idea how he's going to respond to that. I had no clue how things were going to actually play out, but I knew after that conversation, like, it was as smooth and as like brotherly love as possible. And I was fully confident that I would have, you know, well over 7 days to chase a cow in my specific unit. And I could not have been more grateful going into the preparatory phase of August into early September.
That's so most people that typically talk about going to Wyoming, they're talking about putting in for points for years to go chase, you know, a certain class of bull and a very highly valued or sought after unit. To just go and buy an over the counter cow tag, you don't hear people talk about that a lot. And the other piece of it too is when most guys head out west, especially when you look at spending all the time and all the money and the preparation to go out west from the East Coast, guys are typically chasing bulls. They want those antlers. To just go target a cow, it's just, and I guess maybe it's not, you know, it's not sexy. It's not, you know, when you post that picture, you've got a, you know, really nice healthy cow that's going to fill the freezer. And honestly, you know, I was raised, my father, if he had the choice between a big 6x6 and a cow, he shot the cow all day long. My dad passed up a number of big bulls in his hunting time just because he preferred to eat cows. So,
Well, for me, I was fully invested in Silver Linings Playbook, because if you asked me at the start of the turn of the new year when I upgraded the bow that I'd have a chance to shoot at an elk in another state 3/4 of the way across the country, I would have laughed you out of the room. Just with the situation with the Navy and 2 young kids, stay-at-home mom, wife, like, bro, when I say that the opportunity alone was worth the OTC price plus the gear plus everything, like, and again, like I mentioned a second ago, leading up to dang near 6 weeks before the hunt, I wasn't hunting. So I didn't even know how to fly with a bow. I had to ask you, like, how do you fly with a bow and arrows? Like, how do you actually do that? You know, like, do you have to declare it as a weapon? Do you use TSA locks? Like, do you put clothes? Like, and you were like giving me tips about putting clothing in there to like keep the bow from moving around, even though it's strapped down, and different techniques to store broadheads and things like that. Like, bro, I knew none of that. And honestly, I wasn't even thinking about it because I was like, I don't even need to really bring a bow. Like, I'm not gonna have a tag to use the bow. So like, why encumber the flight even more, especially going that far? Like, I've heard horror stories of TSA and I only have one bow, so I'm not gonna bring it if I don't need it. And now all of a sudden I'm talking to you about packing the dang thing appropriately so that I can actually use it, which was worked out really well. Like, nothing got bumped by the grace of God. Like, when I got there, I was shooting at Steven's house. Like, everything was just like it was here. And yeah, to your point about the cow and your father, to me, it all meant the same. Again, the opportunity to have the ability to hunt meant so much more, and to know that I would be in that moment as committed as if it was a bull, and so would Steven, based on our conversations and our friendship and our brotherhood. That was what I was going there for. So the whole, like, and again, he was chasing bulls, so I got the experience. I got to see that. I got to understand a little bit better the dynamic that I knew nothing about, and see the interaction. So I really got the full picture painted. And one could argue hunting cows is pretty freaking hard because they're the eyes and the nose of the herd. So like, that satellite bull, or that kind of like that alpha male that's kind of like trying to take over the herd, he might be, it might be different kind of chase when it comes to taking a cow out who's rolling with like 4 to 40 other freaking cows. And now you can't get in close enough. So both scenarios, I think, present their own challenges. And most guys don't talk about killing cows because they're killing bulls. But I would imagine there's some unique aspects of chasing cows that may not apply to just a selective, 350, 380 class bull.
But the baseline is you were elk hunting. That's the most important part.
Bingo.
Yeah. And because there's a lot of dudes that were not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's where I was at, man. It didn't, again, like, not to beat a dead horse, but it didn't matter. With my life situation and how things have progressed since I picked up a bow, for all the listeners, like, I have given up every other hobby and every other like chase or pursuit that I've ever done or enjoyed because of archery. So it's like father, husband, bow hunter, and that's it. And I thoroughly enjoy that. Like, the people that has brought into my life, to include Aaron, have been like an incredible change. My headspace has been extremely good because of it. The community, the camaraderie, the fun, the brotherly love, like I've expressed, like, it's been a very, very awesome experience thus far, particularly in 2024, and even more particularly since TAC 7 Springs, that I genuinely can say that my life has changed for the better in a myriad of ways since that event.
Yeah, it was a good time, man. It was a really, really good time. A lot of good connections were made there. A lot of good friendships. We had so many laughs on the mountain. Hopefully in the future, you'll be able to go shoot with us when we do it, because it's a riot. And I'm sure where you spent most of your time at TAC this last year, you saw all the different types of people that roll through those events. And, we go there to have fun, straight up, have a great time together. And we're 100% yucking it up. And there were some folks there that really didn't appreciate our presence. Anthony runs around with a little tubular speaker strapped to his pack, and we're jamming to, the range and genre of music that we listen to running around on the mountain it's nuts. We cover all the bases. And we might be in Pennsylvania. There's a healthy elk herd in Pennsylvania, and I'm not sure about this year. I haven't looked at the numbers this year, but within the last 3 years, Pennsylvania has historically had the largest, healthiest elk herd east of the Mississippi. And I'm not sure if 2024 that still stands, because there are a couple of states that are bolstering their elk herd out here. But the last time I researched that topic, PA was still leading the size and health of elk herds east of the Mississippi. But I'm running around with a bugle tube on me, and I'm bugling when we were.
I remember this like it was yesterday, dude. You're coming down the ski lift, just ripping off, and then you hear Anthony's speaker booming, and then you rip off again, and it's just, oh well, there they come down the ski lift yet again. And I'm like, wow, what is going on right now? Like, this is wild. You know what I mean? Like, some people think you were there to play golf, and it's like, no, we're here to have fun. Like, this is not, we're shooting at foam. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a big deal. You're hiking around on a beautiful mountainside on a beautiful fall or a midsummer day in Pennsylvania. Live a little. It's not a big deal. You know what I mean?
Laugh.
Yes.
Laugh.
Yeah, it's good for you. It's good for you.
It's that one ride coming down the ski lift, and I started ripping bugles. Did you see Justin when he started running around with his hands above his head like they're supposed to be antlers?
I did. He literally left his tent and was like responding to your bugles. That's the personality you want in your circle, man. Like, that guy's working, and he's like, you know what? no, I'm going to take a break because like people need to see this. Like, this is funny. I'm going to buy into this, and like, there's community here. And, again, a shout out to Justin. It's like, bro, that dude is like so full of soul, and like he just gravitates, or you gravitate towards him because of how good of a dude he is.
Yeah. The Total Archery Challenge, they have a course. It's the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation course, RMEF. And that course is nothing but elk targets. And most of them are life size in some form, whether they're standing, bedded down, in a bugling pose, but it is nothing but elk targets. And I would rip a bugle at nearly every target, and the looks that our crew would get from people around us, that almost like we were invading their privacy with our noise and with my bugling. And I was like, man, I'm cow calling, and Anthony started cow calling. I may have been Art, but somebody else in our crew brought a turkey call. So they're yelping and clucking and putting. I mean, we're having so much fun, and there are some people there that are stone cold serious, and it cracks me up.
Well, what I find interesting is I know very little about archery, but if I were to shoot tacks regularly, I would use them as real life practice. Like, hunting is one of the very few ventures in life that like you just don't get a free rep live, right? So you get one tag, and it's like, that might be one arrow. Okay, well, you have tack for a reason. It's exploded for a reason, right? It's a place where you can go and hone your skills. You literally carry around your full bino harness with like a a shape pistol that simulates the pistol you would carry in the backcountry. Most people don't do that. You have a bugle tube on your pack, like where it would be, so you can feel it if it's rubbing or doing whatever. Like, that's the history of how you are as a man and what you've done in your life. I love it. Okay, so if it's real life practice, like the closest you can get, and someone's getting bothered by a bugle, I'm like, on an elk course, I'm thinking, that to me, that doesn't compute. Like, what is it going to feel like in real life when that thing is breathing at you, and there's 30 of them in a herd, and you're at 10,000 feet, and you're on day 6 of the hunt? Like, are you going to be a little bothered, or are you just going to like get in the zone? You know what I mean? That's the way I see it. Maybe that's how I was brought up, or maybe that's just my nature. But I love getting as close to the real thing as you possibly can, especially when you're hunting in the dang backcountry with a sharp stick. Let's be honest here,
And for me, when I'm hunting, I get really serious about some things. I do. Even depending on where I'm at and how close I think we might be camped in a critter's backyard, right? I nerd out a little bit on sound abatement in camp. And some people don't understand that, but I promise you, no matter how serious I am through that process, I'm like that Batman character, Two-Face, man. One side of my face is all business, and the other side of my face is like clown face. Like, I am just being stupid. Like, one of our mutual friends, Anthony, like, I am always trying to fart off a big game animal. I'm like, I was hanging in a tree with the East Coast Nick last hunting season. It was our last day packed in. We're trying to get him on a deer. I'm less than 20 yards from him. He was like, man, let's just come out and climb a tree with me, hang out with me for the day. And Colby, it was cold, man. It was in the teens when we climbed trees that morning in the dark.
Oh,
and
man.
It didn't break 30 degrees till like 10 or 11 in the morning. It was cold, man. And we're sitting in there, and your feet hurt because they're frozen, and you're trying to figure out how to keep your fingers warm. You're just so miserable. And I look over at Nick in the other tree, and I cranked one off, man, and it literally sounded like a quality butt grunt. And he just turned and looked at me, and I could see the teeth. He's got this black bushy beard, and I see his white teeth and his grin. and he just shakes his head because I know what he's thinking. He's like, dude, you are such a child. I'm like, yeah, I'm miserable right now.
Yeah, it's cold, bro.
Freaking cold, and we have to sit, statuesque still, because I mean, you might be 20 feet up in a tree and you're elevated over animals that are not used to people in some type of a tree stand or a lock on or a climber or whatever it might be. But if you're swinging around in a tree like an ape, they're going to pick you off,
Oh
especially
yeah.
if they're coming down off of higher ground. At some point, they're either above you or they're on the same eyesight level as you. You know, we're on the same playing field, or they might be underneath you. But certain angles you're exposed, and so you're trying to sit still. You're trying to be focused. You're trying to keep your head in the game, but I have to have fun. So I mean, it's a balance of business and pleasure. And the 6-year-old in me, I just can't keep that thing boxed up all day long, every day. I gotta let him go.
Bro, I could not agree more. I think when I was in Wyoming, Steven really said it best. Like the second week we were out there, he was like, dude, like I really appreciate the way you walk now. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, when you first got here, like day one, you were like a herd of elephants. And now like you're not. You like actually care where you put your feet. You actually like think about which path we're gonna take. Like he let me lead a few routes and kind of take trailheads on my own and like kind of get me some reps like on Spartan Forge and like actually like utilize the topo lines and understand like what mountains look like on a phone or on a GPS. And he gave me so much exposure to understanding. Like it felt like he deleted like years of a learning curve, like almost overnight, which was so cool. And I'm so thankful for that. But to that point, business, right? Like, hey, dude, shut up. Like you right now, whatever you're doing is not good, you know? Okay, fast forward 10, 11 days later, and now it's like super lighthearted at camp. Like we're way more relaxed because he knows that switch, I know how to turn it now. Like, hey, game mode or fun mode. And I think to your point in life, especially like military background, young kids, just dealing with like the stressors, like, dude, you got to have that. You got to have that humorous side, whether it's a little bit dark or a little bit like grotesque. Like it's got to have, especially with like a tribe of men, right? You have to have that because that's how you can relate and get through hard things. Like when things suck, okay, take for example a freezing cold tree stand, bro. That's how you do that. It's like the secret to life is comedy. Like to break through really hard barriers in life, you just have to make light of them and laugh about them. Because guess what? Like they always say, like, don't take anything too seriously because nobody gets out of life alive anyways, right? So like let's laugh when we can laugh. Yeah. Is there time for serious business? Absolutely. No one's disagreeing with that. But like if you could slip one in there, whether it's a a butt burner, like you said, or just a quick one-liner, just like a boom, and just light the room on fire, there is nothing wrong with that. I almost want that. You know what I mean? Like I encourage that with all of my friends, to include myself.
That's good, man. So, how long were you guys packed in Wyoming?
Okay, so the trip was 15 days total, to include travel for me. So flew in, flew out, and we only slept in a bed for 4 of those nights. So got there on a Saturday. That would have been one night in the bed. Sunday we were in the woods, and then middle of the week we pulled out of where he was hunting, reset, got my stuff back in. Another 3 to 5 days to a bed, reset, rejock, new trailhead in my unit, and we did that a total of 3 times. So 4 total like heads on beds nights, and then it was either in his truck or obviously in a tent.
Okay.
Which for me was the longest in a 2-week span, the longest I've ever spent on the ground or in the field. It really, should I say this? It really reinvigorated my love for the outdoors, in terms of full dependency of like your boy and what's on your back. Our running joke was like, yo, you hear that? Oh yeah, sounds like nothing, right? Because your ears, especially in a hustle bustle place like Virginia Beach, your ears, to me, they're like attuned to some kind of ambient noise at all times. So it's like they're almost trying to hear something. But we'd hike in, 4, 5, 6 miles back, drop our packs, and like sit down for a snack and a drink where we're going to make camp. And we're at some beautiful lake with some surrounded by mountains. And dude, there's nothing, like not anything. And your ears are like, that doesn't compute. But you get to fully ingest and digest that nature and in Mother Nature in that moment, in which I was like, I fell in love with it. I told my wife when I got back, like the backcountry bug has not only bitten me, but it's burrowed in. Like I don't ever want to see a fall that I don't go west of the Mississippi ever again, because I fell in love with it the first night. I woke up out of the tent, made our jet boil coffee, and fired up a on point meal. And I was like, what have I been missing? This is sick. Like I need this in my life, like total reset, pure Zen, all the things that like men talk about that they seek on a regular basis, like, inner peace and clarity of the mind, and kind of like lesser or a lower resting heart rate, bro. That was all there. That was a byproduct. It was a byproduct of the environment. And I could not have been happier out there.
The only thing that makes it better for me, Colby, is when I take the opportunity to go do it alone. And I dropped that into my manuscript within the last 7 to 10 days. For me, that alone piece is something that really brings me back to center. And I referenced it. I don't want to throw too much of it out there, but a lot of people, they'll say, I need some alone time. So they go to their home. They're in their house, they're in society, they have electricity, they have plumbing, they have a refrigerator full of a plethora, name a meal, name a snack, an item. Typically they're going to stop somewhere and get food or takeout or have something delivered. They have cable, they have Wi-Fi, they have their smartphone. They're in their house.
This is not alone. This is not alone.
That is not alone, man.
Yeah.
And so, but that is for average society, the normal person right now on this planet, outside of living maybe in a third world country, but when somebody says, yeah, you know what? No, I'm staying home this Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. I need to what is the term people when they say that they need to like turn off social media?
Decompress. Disconnect.
Yes, I need to disconnect. I need some alone time. I'm just staying home tonight. So no, I'm not going out. I'm not going to happy hour, not going to the club, whatever it is, right? I'm going to be alone. But then they come back to their house and they watch TV, they play on the internet, they're on their iPad, they're on their phone, they're texting people, they're calling people, they're watching YouTube. They're not alone. The average person in America, I'm going to shrink this down to America. The average human being in America does not know what it means to truly be alone. And if you put a pack on your back and you walk away from your car and you trek into an environment, and it doesn't have to be west of the Mississippi. You can do this in the Appalachian Mountains. You can get into areas where you're not going to see another person. You do not have cell phone service. And for me, out of respect for my wife, the only connection that I have to society is my Garmin InReach and the ability to send text messages from my Garmin app on my phone through my InReach. Other than that, and that is to let her know that I'm safe. Other than that, I can truly disconnect from the world of society, and I'm alone. The only thing that I can hear is God's creation and the ringing in my ears from 28 years of doing things that a lot of people only dream about. And it's loud, right? And that's it. You have what you take with you. You have your own thoughts, and it is one of my favorite things to do, especially man, especially when you turn that headlamp out and you crawl into your little shelter. People talk about, not that I feel vulnerable, right? But there's nobody else standing to watch. So in a sense, I'm vulnerable. I have my favorite wheel gun with me, but again, when I crawl inside that shelter and close the zipper and strip down and get inside my quote unquote time machine, shut your eyes. You are in a vulnerable state because anything outside of that little nylon Dyneema fabric tent, whatever it's made out of, man, that is your only protection. You're a warm morsel for something that has more, greater strength and cat-like ability than you do. Speaking of cats, but yeah, I love it, man. I love it. There's nobody else standing to watch. You're it.
I couldn't really articulate the feeling the first night because it's just been so long since I felt like that. And really, there's a lot of firsts, right? I made a post about it, but September, there was just so many firsts. And one of them was exactly what you're describing, where you close your eyes and like, to the point of like the aloneness, like Steven's going to sleep too. Like your hunting buddy, whatever it is, they're going to sleep too. So think about the vastness of the land that you set your tent in, this little footprint that you make. Let's just say it's a 10 by 10 space and with two tents. And you're like, there is hundreds of thousands of acres surrounding me of unknown. Okay. I'm in a state I've never been in. Like, for me, I went from -10 feet sea level. If I checked it on my phone, it would probably be from -8 to 12 because my yard has standing water and it rains. Immediately to Wyoming, which was at 5,500 when I landed at the airport. And then the first time we made camp is at 8,000. So now I'm physically impaired because I can't breathe the way that I want to. The light goes out, like you said, and I hear Steven snoring, and I'm like, that's it, bro. Like I have this, like you said, this wheel gun or whatever pistol that I brought and my wits, like that's it. And it's super hard to actually process that. One, because you're in it. So you're thinking like on edge. Two, because you have to wake up in, 5-6 hours before it sun's up, like rip a coffee, and then you need to get on your feet and go, like all those thoughts of vulnerability and aloneness like go out the window, like, hey, I'm here to hunt. So it's just this super interesting dynamic that the backcountry creates. And I'll offer this too. I did some soul searching on the plane back, and when I kind of did my sit down with Steven, what I said was something that I thought was pretty intuitive. So when I think about extreme pursuits, they for me fall in two primary categories. One of them is the effort is the reward, right? So weightlifting, like Olympic weightlifting. What are the things that you do to receive a gold medal? Like you lift the heaviest weight. All right, that's pretty clear cut. Okay, like it's not a crazy talent which is what I'm going to the next part of this conversation. It's pure grit. Obviously, there's some genetics involved and nutrition, whatever. But at the end of the day, the effort, i.e., the barbell or your hands on the barbell, is what creates success. Okay, that's one end of the spectrum. The other end is, let's just say, Red Bull skydiving or, extreme mountain biking. It's pure talent, right? Yes, there's fitness involved. There's a crossover a little bit, but at the end of the day, it is a talent-based success realm, right? So if you don't have that knack to snowboard and launch yourself off huge mountains or jump out of a plane with like perfect form, right? You won't succeed. Okay. After 15 days in Wyoming and sitting on a plane and thinking, like, backcountry hunting to me is maybe one of the only things on earth that puts the two together. One, because you can exert, and you will, if you're a go-getter, you're going to exert a ton of physical effort in a very short period of time, right? 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, whatever it is. And you are going to get after it, and you are going to hike your butt off. Like, it is going to be balls to the wall, and you're going sun up to sundown. You're falling asleep just when you sit down because you're so tired. You might be dehydrated, short on calories, whatever it is. Yet the effort means nothing if you don't have the talent to perform the high value skill, which is archery. And so to pair those two things together, it was such a thing of beauty for me to watch. Like, bro, you have to do, and it's, again, like everybody on YouTube talks about, like, oh, it's not like shooting in your flip-flops in your backyard in July. No, hell no, it's not. Hell no, it's not. You know what I mean? Like, you have to sell the farm, which, again, in most ventures that are physically demanding, that gets you to the gold. And then you have to be ultra talented, again, which is the other side of the spectrum that gets you the reward, to actually succeed. Oh, wait. And then if you do succeed, you're not even close to done because you got to pack that sucker out. So then you got to go back to the other side of the spectrum and exert even probably more effort because now your adrenaline's wore off. For that day, you're probably short on food unless you got a dope like morning harvest. And same with water, So put that in perspective, right? It's one of those unique things that I was like, man, this is so freaking cool. Like, I personally couldn't think of anything else like it. Like, I racked my brain. I'm like, dude, and I told Steve, I was like, dude, think of something else. Like, think of something else. And he was like, maybe like high level martial arts, because like there's a ton of physical fitness involved and there's a ton of talent. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. So you have high level martial arts where people are literally beating the piss out of each other, men and women, and you have backcountry hunting. Like, that's a pretty slim crew. That, you know what I mean? That's a pretty baller crew to be a part of. You know what I mean? I love that.
It's I think it's interesting that you bring this up. And what, to me, one of the big differences that separates backcountry hunting from a lot of other activities is the duration of it. And I look at it from the running view. I love to run. A person that hunts, like, we have 25 acres here, super blessed to be able to walk out my back door and go climb a tree. Super blessed. That's like a training run. You know what I mean? Any morning, any afternoon, the night before, I can make the split decision. Like, you and I could stop recording this podcast and I can run out to the shop, change my clothes, grab my bow, either go sit in the blind, go climb up one of my presets, or just go pick a tree to climb. And I could sit in that position for the last couple hours of daylight. That's like doing a training run. Or I can go down to public and I can sneak into a piece of public and I can hunt for the morning or the evening. But we'll call that 5K, right? Or, you walk a couple hundred yards and sit down on a field edge. That's like doing a 5K. Let's ramp that up to where whether you're in your own state or you travel to another state and you load your life onto your back and you pack in for a period of days, be it 3 days, be it 9 days, or whatever that length of time is. Now we're talking about moving from the marathon to the ultra marathon distance of what you're doing in that field of experience being hunting big game. And I don't I don't pigeonhole it into elk. I big game hunt. I backcountry hunt for turkey, whitetail, and elk. And I put in the same amount of effort for all three. And a lot of elk hunters they'll argue that they're like, there is no way that a deer hunter or a turkey hunter puts in the same amount of effort for an animal that an elk hunter does. And like up to the point of putting that animal on the ground, I 100% disagree. I put in the same amount of focus and effort for a backcountry turkey hunt that I do for a backcountry elk hunt. Now, once the animal is found, there is a separation between the amount of effort at that point to bring that hunt full circle. There's no doubt about that. At a 20-pound turkey, 150-pound whitetail, or 300 to 400 pounds of elk meat, there's a big difference, 100%. But everything else involved with those activities, you're going from somebody that runs a 5K and thinks, and that might be a massive accomplishment for them versus somebody that goes out and runs a 50K, 60K, 100 miler. Everything that you do for those activities are vastly different. Your training plan is different. Your focus, your intensity, your nutrition plan, how you mentally get through that activity is completely different. Even a half marathon used to be my favorite distance because to me, running a 5K, I did not like running an organized 5K because you still put in the same amount of time on event day because you had to go park and deal with the crowds of parking. You had to deal with packet pickup. You had to deal with all these people at the starting line. You had to deal with all these people that push up to the front. Some of them are walkers that now you have to navigate through so that you can actually cross, get out of the first couple 100 yards, maybe even across the starting line to a quarter mile or so till the field thins out. You can actually drop into your pace and run. And then you have to deal with everybody afterwards and then get your car and deal with all the traffic to get away from said 5K. I just, for me, it's a miserable experience. The half marathon to me is where the fun really begins because now that's a sub 2 hour race for me. It's a sub 2 hour race. That's that zone where I'm really starting to exert effort, and everything else involved with that racing event is worth my time and money and energy. It's a feeling of accomplishment when I'm done, and I'm not taking away anything from somebody that they're like, wow, the longest distance I've ever ran was a 5K, and that was meaningful for me. I get it. I'm not discrediting that at all. For some people, a 5K is a massive accomplishment, and I'm happy for them. But when you're looking at the world of hunting and somebody that just hunts their private property and they're riding ATVs side by side, they have preset stands or box blinds that's where they go. They know where the deer patterns, and they shoot a deer. They drive their side by side to it. They haul it back to the barn. They hoist it, and I mean everything is it's almost like cookie cutter routine every time they go out and hunt, right? Compared to spending the time crushing maps, emaps, doing your online scouting, and then planning and prepping, putting all your gear together, training for it if you do train for it. If not, you just go in raw and just take the suck right in the face. And then you go do it for days on end. And the only thing that you have to rely on is you and what you brought, and maybe the man standing next to you. It is life changing. It is, man. There's nothing else like it.
Yep. I mean, yeah, that's a really, really artistic way to put it with the running and the mileage and the different ventures. I literally could not say it better. I feel like when it comes to being in an environment that you have only so much to rely on and where you basically have no choices. I am of the same thought process as you. Like I'm very, I'm constantly in communication with my family. I have a really small family. Excuse me. But before I left on the flight out there, I told them, I said, hey, the only person that I'll be communicating with is my wife. And so I took that exact approach using Justin's inReach. The only person that I texted while I was in the backcountry was my wife. And so it was such a liberating experience. That was a true first. Not communicating with basically my entire family on a daily or weekly basis was a true first. And man, it felt like a 1,000-pound gorilla off my back. Like, hey, I'm committed to this. I'm not texting them. I could. I have their number saved in the inReach or in my phone where I have it memorized. I could. Not doing it. Like, I committed to myself. In addition to that, you said when you talked about going from the half marathon to the marathon to the ultra marathon, bro, we logged like 120 to 130 miles on foot in 10 days, 10 basically 11, or basically 10, but on paper it was like 11 days, like with a pack, like whether that was a fully loaded pack with camp or a spike out for the day, it was still at a minimum of 30 pounds. You know what I mean? Like, and then add on an 8-9 pound bow. If he's carrying it or I'm carrying it, like plus all the water we would accrue on the way out, like, bro, you're easily over 40 pounds just as part of your daily wear. Like, that's your EDC is 40 pounds. Like, that's serious. And then
and it's not flat ground either. People.
Well, no, that's the thing. And I'll bust Anthony's balls on this because he was like, dude, you got to get these oxygen. He's gonna laugh when he listens to this. He's like, dude, you got to go to the outdoor store and get those oxygen, like those green, like emergency oxygen things. Like, we use them in TAC out west. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And then like we get to the store and I look at Steven. I was like, hey man, someone kind of told me I should buy these. He's like, I'm not gonna let you do that. And I was like, yeah, good call. Like, we'll just avoid that. I'll just stay hard. You know what I mean? And I haven't told Anthony that, so it'll be the first time he heard that. It'll be funny. But bro, like, I had a lot of things working against me. You can only do so much training for some of these adventures, right? Like, how many step ups am I going to do on this box that I'm leaning my iPad on right now? Like, I'm at, like I said, negative 10 feet. Like, you can't just take your lungs and make them work less because they're constricted. You know what I mean? I'm not going to spend $10,000 on a freaking oxygen thing. You know what I mean?
And there's two things that a mask does not do for you. Does not protect you from COVID, and it does not prepare you for elevation when you live at sea level. They are fallacies, I promise you.
Frame that.
Yes.
Print that out and frame that. Put it right next to your lamp there. Oh my goodness, could not be more true. But yeah, man. So like, triple digit miles, EDC pack of 35 plus pounds, and fatigue, right? Dehydration. We'll talk about calories for a second. Like, bro, I eat a lot. I work out often. I consider myself somebody that's in pretty good shape. I eat a lot of food, and like, you can only pack so much in a gallon Ziploc. Like, you can only put so much in your pack. Like, you're gonna suffer. You just have to buy into that and believe, like, hey, this is not gonna feel great day 4, 5, 6, 7, and beyond. Like, you're gonna kind of be in the pain cave a little bit. And then, like I kind of alluded to before, you got a lot of work to do. Like, that's a huge deal for a lot of people. Like, we'll zoom into America. Like, it's very difficult for people to wrap their mind around that because things are so easily accessible and it's so effortless. Like, whether it's right here or, a 7-minute drive to the grocery, like, it doesn't compute with a lot of people. So when you get out there, to your point, and you're alone in it, bro, you really gotta do a mindset shift and be like, why am I here? Right? Because even Steven kind of alluded to the fact that so many people will talk themselves off the mountain every year. Oh, it's to this or to that, or I'm to this or I'm to that, or my family this or my family that. And I told him, I said, dude, I don't know anything about backcountry elk hunting, but two things you don't have to worry about is me giving up or me complaining. That's it. Everything else, like, I have to learn, but you're not going to hear a negative word out of me. And I'm not going to be like, dude, we got to leave. And he was like, Roger that. So taking the right approach was crucial for me. I think it really, really paid dividends later on, week 2, like, oh man, down and out. Damn, we haven't heard anything. We haven't seen anything, whatever it is. Like, you got to stay in it because you just never know. You literally just never know what's over that next hill or around that next corner or behind that next bushel of trees. You have no idea. You know what I mean?
It takes a moment.
1 minute.
Oh, less. I mean, it's literally like you come over the rise, boom, it's go time.
Yes.
You start moving around the edge of a saddle, boom, it's go time. I mean, you drop down into this, you drop down over this into this draw, boom, it's go time. You walk into a swale, boom, it's go time. I mean, you sit down in an opening and you start eating some food, boom, it's go time. I mean, it's
very true.
Pursuing wild game is one of the most rewarding, yet can be one of the most frustrating things in the entire world. There is not a black and white answer for any part of it. None of it. Even, you're talking about preparation, and this is, no matter how hard you prepare for a backcountry hunt, you're never prepared enough, because being in society, you always have creature comforts. So you might go blast yourself in a crazy workout, but then you come inside the house and you take an ice bath, or you get in the sauna, or you stretch. You have all of your nutrition available to you. You sleep in a soft bed. You have all your vitamins. You have all your, all of your drinks, whatever it is that you do on a daily basis. You have all of that available. You have solid recovery. You don't have that in the backcountry. I mean, I pack all my vitamins. I have a Ziploc bag. I have a little Ziploc bag and all of my daily meal pouches with all of my vitamins and stuff in it. So I'm getting my vitamin intake and everything, but you don't have everything with you. And that workout lasts 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour and a half, 2 hours tops, right? Then it's over. You can even do 2 a days, but you still, at some point, you're coming, those sessions end, and you're sitting in a chair, you're sitting on the couch, you're lounging on the floor, you're sleeping in your Posturepedic bed, you have a hot shower, you recover. In the backcountry, you are on it, you're getting it all day long. Now maybe you sit down on the side of a mountain on a ridgetop or someplace, an observation point, and you sit down on the ground for an hour, 30 minutes, 3 hours, depending upon the scenario, but you're exposed. So if it's hot, you're sweating, you're stripping down. I mean, at one point this last September in Idaho, I was literally stripped down to my merino boxers, laying on my Rack Addicts killing pad. I yard sailed all my stuff. I'm laying there almost naked, just sitting down for a minute and having a snack. If it's cold, you're sitting there static, trying to stay warm, and you're sitting on hard ground. You might be comfortable at that point because you're not moving with 40 pounds on your back, either going uphill or downhill or side hilling. I don't know what's worse. Truly, I don't know what's worse. Side hilling sucks.
Brutal.
I hate side hilling, but you do it a lot, right? So there's never a point when you're in the field, being the backcountry, where you're truly relaxed and recovering. When you crawl into your shelter at night, you're sleeping, like my sleeping pad is 4 inches thick. That is, and that's fully, completely inflated, which I don't do because it's not comfortable for me. So it's compressed. I mean, You're not sleeping in that nice, recovery zone of the Posturepedic, in a climate controlled bedroom. You have what you have. And you can't, the only thing you can train yourself to do is fall in love with it and then know that, okay, when I walk away from the truck, this is going to, and some aspect of it is going to suck. And I have to love every freaking bit of it. And that is the beautiful part.
Yeah, that's it. That in summary is literally it, because if you leave the truck in the wrong headspace, forget it.
Yep.
Right. If you think for a second that you're going to feel after the first day of putting in work anything like you feel in your own home, in your own bed, with your own kitchen, in your own recovery tools, like you should rethink your venture, period. Like that's really what it comes down to. If you did the whole TLDR, like too long didn't read thing, like that is, to me, again, brand freaking new, like as green behind the ears as it gets. But if I had to boil it down to one thing, it's headspace. And when you leave the truck, you are committed to everything that you just said. Like, no matter what happens here, harvest or not, these things have to take place in order for me, whether I'm alone or not, and my buddy, the man beside me, to get safely back to the truck and ultimately safely back to their families, period. Like, that's the way that I see it. And that stems from going out with the right mindset and knowing being uncomfortable is absolutely in your future. being tired, maybe being hot, and maybe being really cold is probably in your future. Cramping is in your future.
Correct. Sometimes the same morning,
It's
same afternoon, same evening. I mean, it's happening.
It's like the movie Point Break, but it's on your body. Like, there's going to be a whole plethora of different things that you're going to experience in a 24-hour period that you will never be able to replicate under the roof of your own home.
Yeah.
That's it.
But all the aspects, everything you experience through that process, life-changing.
1000%. Like I said, I would be remiss if I didn't take a crack at the Western world at least once a year going forward. Stephen told me that his goal in life is to backpack hunt into his 70s. I now know why. Because it's freaking addicting. There is so much about it that fills my cup. I can't get enough. I literally can't get enough. I showed everybody the shelving I got from Sam's Club earlier in the podcast, but I had the opportunity to like nerd out on my gear. Every time we'd come back to his house, I'd be able to reorganize something or recompress something or take something out or add something in and check the weight of it and move it around in my pack and restrap something down or lash something to the outside that was on the inside that was I needed easy access to, etc. And it ruined me because before, dude, I had crap everywhere and like nothing was labeled. I had nothing hanging. So we got the cork board. My wife was like, oh, I could put the cork board in it. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's such a great idea. Like, we could actually see what we have. So now I have like whitetail gear. I have like Western gear, and it's like very obvious. Like, what do I need? Oh, this pack. Okay, what goes in it? This bin. Boom, dump it in. You know what I mean? So like it really transformed the way that I see the gear, the way that I see the pursuits, and the way that I think about how I'm going to leave this garage or ultimately my house in Pennsylvania. And it's going to be far more prepared each time. You know, you've been doing this way longer than I have, probably as long as I've been alive. And like, I imagine your trajectory of gear improvements, I mean, we've talked about it offline a little bit, but has been exuberant, right? You've done a ton of different testing and evaluating to see what works for you, what doesn't, what makes sense in this environment, what doesn't, what are you going to pack in this temperature range or this state. I love that. I live for that. And I think that that's a huge reason why backcountry hunting is kind of taken its place, on my soul, because there's so many parts of it that make sense to me. And they, like I said, they fill my cup. And I'm just so grateful for people like you to mentor me, Stephen, for for taking me out and just showing me the ropes. And like I said, deleting years of a learning curve. Like, bro, it's been such a humbling, like soul filling experience that I hope to continue on in the future.
Are you going to be able to get back out into your shelter this season, or is it going to be next year before you get to do it again?
I was actually thinking about just taking the tent in the backyard and just doing a night in the backyard, maybe with my oldest son. He would probably love that. We, cook a jet boil. I got a few on point meals left over. But I don't think that for me right now, with the holidays and the family still being in New England, I don't think that I'm going to be able to do any more quote unquote backcountry pack-ins. I might have a few more whitetail opportunities to kind of push through November, but those won't be out of a tent.
Okay.
But
all right,
I'm already looking forward to next year. That's for dang sure.
Man, it's funny. I was talking to my dad yesterday, and I told my dad, I said, Dad, we haven't even transitioned into full-on rut yet, and I am already excited about turkey season next year.
Oh, that's absolutely something that I want to dip my toe in as well. That would be another first.
Well,
come
Colby, backcountry turkey hunting is one of my favorite things to do now. It is. Okay. It is incredible.
Well, you could sign me up. If we have an opportunity to do that, then I am all in, because that sounds like an absolute blast.
It is, man. You get pretty much all the benefits. When it's not benefits, because I mean you benefit from both of them. You get everything that you experience in a September archery elk hunt. You get it in April and May chasing turkeys all over the mountains. You're doing everything the same.
Yeah, and you cut the timeline. You don't have to wait till the next September, which is
correct.
Big.
And you can do it in almost any state.
Sure.
And like Maryland, Virginia, multiple tags. So if you take a 4-day weekend and you go pack into the mountains somewhere to start chasing birds, if you shoot a bird on day one, you're not done. And you can, like, from your house, you could get up early enough in the morning and drive to a location and pack in and maybe get an hour hunt in before noon hits, because the first part of season in Virginia, you can only hunt till noon. Same with Maryland. But then you pitch camp, roost some birds, get up the next morning, you hunt till noon. I mean, you're running and gunning, having a blast, you're calling. You're doing everything. You're doing everything that you do for elk. And if you bag a bird, then your hunting partner, gets his turn, or you have a second tag. That's what I love about. I don't have to spend 24 hours to travel west to then end up in the mountains. I can leave here at 3:00 in the morning, and I'm packed in and hunting by 11.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It is.
And you drove there, so you have all of your truck amenities and coolers and whatever else. Yeah.
Absolutely. No,
yeah,
man,
it's awesome.
It's a gas. You're calling, they're responding. You're getting set up for the shot opportunity. Dude, I love backcountry turkey hunting. It is stupid good times.
Yeah, you got me fired up. Anthony has mentioned that as well. Our mutual friend there, and he's like, dude, I think he's poor man's elk hunting is what he called it, I think.
So, and I relate it to baseball. Not that I'm a baseball fan. It's the farm league to archery elk hunting. It really is. Okay. Yeah. It's all the cool kids do it, man.
I can't wait. I can't wait. That sounds like a blast. Yeah, I'm super excited to learn about that.
Yeah, I'm thinking, everybody, there's a big thing right now, and I'm a huge proponent for it. It's like, make deer camp great again. And I don't go put together a massive deer camp. I typically want to go pack in. If I'm not packed in, I'm hunting our property, local public land, or I'm cruising up to hunt with Anthony or Art, right?
Sure.
Um, I'm not taking a week's vacation to go hang out in a camp with 5, 7, 10 other dudes and spend, a lot of time drinking beer.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I want to go do hard things. However, I will say that picking the right location, we could put together a pretty cool backcountry turkey camp and have, 6 dudes in there, because now you have 3 teams that can go out and
Oh
chase
yeah.
birds around, and then if you wait till tail end of season, you can hunt dark to dark. But in the first 5-6 weeks, you can only hunt till noon. So that brings in a different aspect of camp, because you're up super early to get to
Sure.
a waypoint to start hunting, to be set up to start hunting. But at noon, you're done. You can come back to camp. You can go scout. You can go scout. You can go shed hunting. Go back to camp. Take a nap. Take a nap on the side of the mountain. Now the 6-year-old really gets to come out.
Yeah.
You get to have fun in camp. Have fun, do all that kind of stuff, and then
Yeah. I could see how that's appealing.
dude, it's a ton of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds like a blast. Yeah. I definitely need to get involved in that, because that's just a whole different venture. And again, for me, it's like, when I can do it, I'm going to get it in, right? Because with the whole kids thing and the wife thing, it's like, excuse me, it's like April rolls around. It's like, oh, hold on, I can get a little action in April. I don't have to wait till September. Like, yeah, that sounds nice. A little spring action.
Yeah.
When normally that's not even on my radar, and I'm doing whatever the heck else, probably just practicing in the yard with my bow. So that would be sick.
The other thing about turkey hunting, having 2 boys, if your plan is to expose them to hunting, which I'm guessing that you will.
Absolutely, yeah.
Turkey hunting, for me, turkey hunting is the number one option to introduce somebody to. If they've never been hunting before, turkey hunting is the best introduction to the world of big game hunting, because it's in a great time of year. Typically, once turkey season kicks off, it's temperate. The weather's good. The woods are lush and alive. There's so many things to see, so many things to smell, so many things to experience. The turkeys are crazy vocal. There's usually action, a lot of action, and they're very easy to get out of the field. So for a young kid, they can go out and truly engage with an animal. And now, granted, I mean, turkeys can see and hear like no other critter in the woods, but it's not like you're sitting in a tree stand all day long, right?
Yeah.
It's you're doing, you're running and gunning. Now, when you get set up, they have to try to sit still and be quiet. I mean, there is that. A lot of people start kids out in a ground blind because gives you a little bit of forgiveness. But if you want your kids to get into backpacking and you want to get them into hunting, and your end goal is try to get them to do it together, backcountry turkey hunting is the golden ticket, man.
The gateway drug.
It is. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
They'll fall in love with it. They will
If
fall
that
in
was
love.
if that was a sell me this pen moment, I'm in. Checks written, right?
Well,
so sign me up.
We will get that done.
Cool. I appreciate that. I know you wanted to finish up here by about 3:30, and we're kind of getting to that point. I would like to do that as well. So, if I can start the closeout, if you don't mind.
Do it.
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to sit and do this. Again, I'm in my adjustable bench with my box jump table, but I would do it on the ground, man. I really had a blast. My heart is very full. I like to relive that story and coke and joke and kind of shoot the breeze about the backcountry and what it means to us as men is a super powerful thing. I think our tribe is one of the most impactful things, in addition to our faith, that we can have that keeps us kind of on the straight and narrow. And I'm really thankful that you and I have found that in one another. And going forward, I hope that we can embark on some really cool adventures together. And we can, enjoy our time in the woods and as brothers going forward. So again, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the time.
Yeah, I think we need to go out and experience the wilderness, man. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So right on,
Absolutely.
Colby. Thanks for joining me today and ripping a cup podcast with me. And there's no doubt we're gonna do one from the field at some point in time.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Yeah, I'd love that.
Right on, man. Hey, everybody, you know where to find the Limitless podcast. It's on Spotify, it's on Apple, iTunes, it's on all of your other major podcasting platforms. We will have this video on YouTube so you can watch or listen to it on YouTube. Again, all the sponsor listener codes, listen to previous episodes, you'll hear about them, what they are, and how to use them. But again, thanks to all the sponsors. And as always, Colby, be limitless.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. You have a good rest of your day. We'll talk soon.
Sounds good, man.
All right, later.
Oh. Ugh.